Hello, welcome back to Aether. This is Satomi and Paul from sakaso.ca. So today, that's a big topic, as I always say. Enough bullying. Have you had enough, right? And then we're saying bullying, but it's actually happens a lot.
Yeah.
Like a big one that you see, and the small one that you might not even notice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
On regular basis.
Yeah.
Like now you can call it abusive situation, relationship.
Yeah.
Right? And it's happening, and then lots of people, bullying, it's a strong word, but it's happening a lot without people realizing,
Yeah.
being aware.
Yeah.
Right?
And even if it's not a abusive relationship, there can be an inappropriate interaction between people.
Mhm.
They may even have a generally good relationship, or not necessarily any relationship.
Yeah.
When people are interacting,
that's
if they're just an aggressive kind of behavior from one side, then that's bullying as well, right?
It's just one
Yeah.
one situation, right? And if it's that every situation, then it becomes abusive relationship.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
If the person buys into it and sticks with it, and the other person takes advantage, right? Yeah. And so it's not just the classic, schoolyard kid who throws punches, right? The bigger kid throwing punches. That's not, and it's not just necessarily either mean girls in high school. It's all over society. It's happening in marriages and all kinds of relationships between friends, even or just people you just met, or also between people and authority, right? That's what we're seeing right now, is that from our perspective, we do see a lot of bullying that's happening. Social media, for example, or the news, or other institutions have come into this and are throwing their weight around in ways that are not respectful of the other person. We'll put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then it's like I said earlier, sometimes it's not noticeable, and if it's verbal, right? Just using words and a nice gesture or whatever, but then intention behind it might be totally different. It's hiding behind words, right? And then if it's emotional bullying, right, you might not notice it, and that's why it kept happens.
Yeah.
Lots of times it keeps happening, right? And then when you realize, it's like, oh my God, right?
Yeah.
And then how am I get out of this kind of thing? So it's so it's good idea to step back and look around and check the healthy boundary, healthy relationship, those kind of thing, and checking every situation as much as you can, right? And and then you can keep the healthy relationship instead of getting bullied. You think, how can I say it? Like we might be bullying someone without knowing it. That could happen too, right? Yeah. So it's a good idea to check we are getting bullied or we are bullied.
Well, we kind of touched on that was it last episode or the one before, where we talked about people with good intentions, people who are trying to do the right thing, right? And they are kind of sacrificing themselves and expecting other people to do the same, and they're very aggressive about it, right? And if you disagree with them, then there's this kind of ganging up on that person who's like, kind of, wait, I'm not. I just not sure I want to go along with this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so people who are trying to do the right thing can also be bullies. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not respecting the other person's boundaries. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then that would be that can go, how can I say, how can I put it? If they think they're doing the right thing and then turning into bullying, that can be not good, turn into a big problem.
Well, yeah, it has been. It's been a global problem.
Uh-huh.
I mean, check on Facebook, right? It's been pretty overwhelming to a lot of people. And it's kind of shifted subject recently. For a couple of years, we had the same subject going on, and then recently it's shifted subject. But if you disagree with the common narrative, there tends to be a lot of people with good intentions who tend to let me just say, automatically put the other person into a negative light if they disagree for some reason, whatever the reason may be, right? So if they don't really go along with the what everybody's jumping on board with, then they tend to attract negative attention, right? That one person doesn't want to jump on board, and that's really unfortunate. And I can probably slip into bullying behavior, right? Myself. So we'll talk about the solution for this, I think, maybe. And then that example will come through, I think, what I was just about to say. Let me touch on a few things here before we go diving deep here. I mean, questions and comments, please. Anybody's listening or watching the show here, you're always welcome to jump in with any kind of question. There is no such thing as a poor question in any way whatsoever. Just all questions. So please, it's very welcome for you to join the conversation. And this is what we're really going to be driving at in this particular episode, because we're actually going to be doing more than one part, little mini series here on this bullying thing, because there's different aspects to it.
Right.
And this one is going to be about not taking things personally. So you can't necessarily stop the other person from doing what they're doing, right? That's not really your job so much. However, you can receive it in a healthy way, right? Make it as healthy as possible. So, excuse me.
If you are in that spot that being bullied, right?
Yes.
And we talked about
that's what we're talking about in this one, is how to handle it.
Yeah. If you feel like you're being bullied, like again, bullied, it's a big word, but it can happen so many different ways and so many different forms.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So if you are feeling like you are not being yourself, you are suppressed, you're feeling like you are suppressed or pressured down by others, kind of thing, right? That kind of feeling. And then today we have one, is that one solution?
Well, there's different aspects to it. Yeah.
Dealing with it.
Yeah. There's different pieces to this approach, right?
Yeah.
And we want to touch on all of them and make it fair.
We wouldn't say it's a solution. That's just one approach.
Yeah.
And
for
then
me,
you want to do different things.
Yeah. For me, it was a tremendous breakthrough, right? So what does this mean? Not taking things personally, right? So let's break it down. So when somebody says something, and we're talking about verbal stuff here in this one.
Yeah.
When somebody says something, whatever they're saying, in truth, it's not because of you. You have no responsibility for what they choose to do, right? So they may say it's because of you, like you are making me mad, kind of thing, right? Or
they don't have to say they're mad, right? They just got mad.
Or you're being so unreasonable, or whatever finger pointing they're doing, because there's a big part. That's a big part of this is the accusation, right? They'll say that you are something, right? there'll be a statement of you are blank, right? And so they're labeling you in that situation, and they come on pretty hard with it. That's the way this works, right?
Or not sometimes, but taking things
Generally
personally,
speaking,
taking things personally. Who has a habit to do this? They don't have to. The other person have to come hard. They would take things personally. Oh, it's my fault.
Yeah, I guess I'm just used to in my family people speaking pretty emphatically. Let me just say that.
Yeah, but it's not just them being hard on you. It can be, like I said, they don't have to tell you that you making me mad. Just a person being mad, and the other one's, well, is that because of me?
That is another aspect to it. I wasn't really going to. I didn't think of that when I was putting this episode together. But you're absolutely right.
Taking things personally.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that is completely. And I'm guilty of doing exactly that. Right. So when someone around me that I care about is angry, I'll wonder if that's because of me. And that's like what kids do, right? This is it's classic what children do, what children do that, but also adults do, right? We grow up, and that's me, right? I'll wonder if it's because of me, right? And really, it's nothing to do with you. It's that person. That other person has full responsibility for their emotions, for their choices, for what they say, for anything of all of that stuff, and that belongs to them. It's not because of you, right? So that thinking is flawed in the way that we develop as when we're growing up. It's unfair when we're growing up because we're so small, right? And stuff happens to us in to such a great degree, and we have we're told so many things that it's because of this and because of that, and the apple falls to the floor because of gravity. Well, I'm mad because of you, right? So kids like, well, there's a lot of stuff coming at me here, right? So it can be a habit to accept that as a truth, right? As a thing that I'm responsible for that other person. And so that's how I got into it, right?
Yeah. So that's why I just using that example, because lots of people think bullying and abusive situation is like somebody is attacking you, right? No, they were just mad, and then but by you taking that thing personally, and then you do that all the time, then in a way you are bullying yourself.
You're bullying yourself in that case,
right.
But that's because you've developed a habit,
habit,
right,
from others.
It's not necessarily the other person being abusive in that case. It's just an unhealthy situation, an unhealthy dynamic that's developed over time. But yes, you're absolutely right. So what's going on there is when people are, I'm speaking of this aggressive kind now, not the passive kind that you're talking about. So I'm talking about the active kind when people are being aggressive. What's going on there is it's shadow projection. So everybody has this. I have this. Everybody has this. Where there's stuff that we're carrying around that we're not aware of, right? Aspects of ourselves, our subconscious, things that we don't want to deal with, things that we don't want to face, right? Any part of ourselves we don't like, and we push it away, right? That becomes part of our shadow. And then that shadow is there. It's not, doesn't go away. It's just there, right? Things we're suppressing, right? Things, aspects of ourselves we're not fond of. It's all there. All of our desires are in there too, like things that we want to get. So that stuff comes out. You look at it, it just does, right? It's there. It's got this. The more we push in there, the more pressure is created, and the more it's coming through, and then it ends up being projected outward to other people. So what's happening there is like, if I judge myself when I get angry, right? I don't like it. I deny that I'm angry or that it has anything to do with me, right? It's not my fault. It's somebody else's fault, right? So that then, if it was when I'm doing that, I'm putting it into my shadow because I'm not aware that it actually is my choice, right? So when I see somebody else doing something that could trigger that I don't like, that I'm afraid of something bad happening, I can project onto them from that shadow that they're making me angry, right? So that's how it works. So that's why people see. So there's a quote, we mentioned this in a previous episode. There's a quote in the Bible. Jesus says that it's easier to see the mote in the other person's eye than the log in your own, right? So you accuse other people when you're projecting your shadow. You always accuse other people of what you're guilty of. So that's a key thing there. Just a pointer. When somebody there's another saying too, that when you point a finger, there's three fingers pointing back at you, right? Just think about it. Like if I'm pointing at Satomi, there's these other three fingers pointing right back at me, right? So that's talking about the shadow, right? And shadow projection. If I'm pointing at her and saying she's at fault, then what I'm really doing is pointing out my own shadow, things I haven't dealt with. So when I get aggressive, I'm maybe I'm afraid of something bad happening. Then I choose to get mad, and then I accuse you of making me mad. That's aggressive behavior. That's all shadow projection. So that's where it's coming from. So if you think about the recent stuff that's happened in the world, for 2 years we had this whole health crisis thing, and people were afraid of something bad happening. People were afraid of getting sick or possibly causing somebody else to get sick, right? So when somebody wasn't on board with what they saw as the solution, they would be angry at them. So this is what's going on here. They're actually choosing to be angry. They're actually choosing to be afraid, but they're putting the fault on the other person, right? And then they go after them. So that's what happens there. It's nothing we can argue back and forth about science there. There's just say that there's science on both sides of that equation for now and move on. But so
that's why you are saying aggressive behavior. It's not because of you. It's because of them. They are mad because of them.
That's what the person that's what the story always is, right? They're always blaming the other person.
So they blame the other person. Let's say they blame you, but it's you're talking about this aggressive behavior. Actually they are mad not because of you, but because of what they are carrying.
Correct. What they're carrying in some cases is their fear. Right.
And then so that's one reason that you don't have to take their words personally. Literally what they say is not correct.
Yes.
Right?
What they're saying is factually not correct. You're not making anybody mad. You can't. Nobody in the history of humanity, no one has ever made anybody else mad. It's a weird thing in English to say that you're making me mad because you're abdicating responsibility for your own choices. So that's one big thing that we don't own other people's feeling. We cannot change other people's feeling. We cannot choose feelings for others. They're choosing their feelings, and that's not your responsibility at all, right? You're responsible for your own feelings, but not others. That's right.
So if we know that, that's first step, right? I
mean, another example is a really good one for me is that this was a huge lesson for me, actually, to learn to not take things personally. Because the environment I grew up in, as I kind of hinted at there, there was a lot of accusations flying around. So I grew up in that, and I got used to being on the receiving end of those accusations. And the thing is that my response to it was to take responsibility and to remove any reason why somebody might get mad at me. That's the way I tried to deal with it, right? So in a way, it's helpful to me because I was able to better myself, but I was doing it through an unhealthy mechanism of accepting the responsibility that other people were trying to push on me, right? Because I wasn't responsible for them being angry. But I didn't know that at the time. I just didn't compute. It's simply, I wasn't aware of not taking things personally at that time.
Yeah. And yeah, you cannot fix everybody's problems. And it just doesn't happen, right? And then let's say if you fix something and they're going to bring more.
Exactly. That's what happened.
Yeah. So it's their responsibility, and we just have to train ourselves to see where is my responsibility and what are their responsibility, right? So it's because it's hard to tell, and that's why we take things personally. But yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I take things personally. I think I taught myself not to earlier. So
well, yeah, you kind of like were just sort of formed out of light, I think, when you were young, and you just happened.
I formed out of pain. I can say that. When I was young.
Yeah.
So went through pain, and I got formed. And this part of forming was not taking things personally. That I think I don't remember consciously doing it, but that just happened so many times, and like so much pain, and that was my protection to not take things personally. I think,
Well, it became mine eventually, but I went through a lot more years before I figured it out. I was a little slower on the uptake. Yeah. So I mean, that's what was going on in my family. I was being accused of a lot of things, and being, that there was something wrong with me was the basic message, right? You add all those little bits up. That was the basic message.
Yeah, and then it was programmed in you, and if I say something, right, and then you interpret that I'm saying that there's something wrong.
Oh yeah, that's happened in our relationship
so many times.
Yeah.
I am not saying that. I told him many times over and over and over. I'm not saying that. I never say it because I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I don't think so. So I'm not saying it, right? But those explanations, that doesn't mean anything, right? Whatever I say, if I express something, or I prefer this one over this one, right? And he chose this one, and I choosing this one. I want this one instead, right? And then it's like a boom. He's wrong, I'm right, and right, and then you're accusing me that I'm wrong. No.
That was a process that we went through.
Yeah.
I don't think it worked out exactly with that example, but
yeah, it's very simplified.
Yeah.
But it's if you simplified it, it's kind of.
Basically, if I would create like an image or something to put on the website, that would be an example, right?
Yeah, sure.
I would create a website image, I'd show it to you, and you'd be kind of like, I prefer maybe something along this line. Then I'd be like, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I'm doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't get it, whatever it is. So I go through that kind of negative interpretation of what you're saying, so that I would actually be kind of aggressively taking things personally.
Yeah, and
so that's a weird dynamic.
But
it's just about habit. So that's how strong it was.
And then angry.
Yeah.
Right. Once that anger hits, and then it's just.
It was just like, it's just because of, like I was saying, the family I grew up in, but also the relationships I went through. Just all the very same message. It was always my fault, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite story to me was that it was my fault.
So it was so hard. Like I couldn't say anything. Whatever I say turn into you receive it, and I'm saying that you are doing something wrong. You are wrong. There's something wrong with it. Like I didn't say that. No, I'm saying this, and still you're accusing me. Okay, I don't know what to say anymore, right? So it can go really, really deep.
So the importance of not taking things personally is even, that underlines it even more, right? So just don't do that. But we're going to talk more about how. Right? So how do you avoid doing that? Because we're talking about their subconscious programming, right? I was programmed at a subconscious level, and it was really, really strong to take things personally, right? Yeah. That's the way I interpreted the world. That's just the way it worked. It was my fault. Everything was my fault. So it was a process for me to go through to release that subconscious program, right? And for some people, it's not as difficult, right? For some people, it's simply taking up a habit change, a practice. I was kind of an extreme case. You taught yourself. Right, so that we're kind of like opposite ends of the spectrum on this particular one. Right. Today's subject, we were like, if there's anything we're opposite on, it was that one. I would say, yeah. So there's a lot of different approaches. So we're going to talk about different ways of shifting habits and creating awareness today. But if that does not work, there's always the possibility of working with us. And just going to our website to sexo.ca/breakthrough, scheduling a free session will help you work through subconscious shift work. We'll figure out a plan for you that will help you do that, right? Because people can end up being really frustrated. I was, oh my God. I was too. Yeah, it took a lot of that for me to get through it, but I was kind of a tough case. But
So knowing that the feelings are other people's feelings don't belong to our responsibility. Right.
Yeah, it's their own shadow projection. That's what's going on there. So being aware of that fact that helps. So then being aware of just worldview stuff. So I think probably people understand what a worldview is. But your shadow,
looking through with your own glasses.
Yeah, your shadow affects your worldview, right? So, and in an unknown way, people that are in a way that people are not aware. So, just like what was happening there, what we're talking about with me interpreting everything you say in a personal way, that was my shadow.
Worldview as your worldview was you looking at me as an enemy.
As a potential threat, yes,
attacking,
yes,
right.
Everybody and everything was a potential threat because in my world there were so many threats, right? That's the way. That's how it was for me.
Like once you're in that anger or fear mode, doesn't matter what I said or what I do. Like I'm the attacker and attacking you, right? So that's worldview.
But I want the audience to be clear. This is an exception in this case. It's far more common. That's what we're trying to help people out in this episode. it's far more common for me to be in the situation I was in before our relationship,
Right.
where I was taking things personally, and because people were really being aggressive.
Right.
They truly were the active agent,
Mm-hmm.
and I was then reacting to it.
Right.
So I was the second step,
Right.
but that second step was needed to create abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Is what we're trying to get at here. So someone approaching with abusive, things going on, doesn't turn into abuse unless the second step
Right.
happens, which is
Mm-hmm.
me accepting it
Mm-hmm.
and taking it personally. So that's so your worldview,
Mm-hmm.
affects your shadow affects your worldview, and
Mm-hmm.
people have that worldview of so seeing other people as the one being at fault. That is a perfect example here. We're kind of already talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
They walk around with that assumption
Mm-hmm.
that, first of all, their own anger is not their own fault.
Mm-hmm.
That is a worldview belief,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's a subconscious belief,
Yeah.
right? So if you add up all your subconscious beliefs, that defines your worldview.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have that assumption, then that's part of your worldview.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see other people, if you're always seeing people as a potential threat, like I was,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Then that's also a worldview thing
worldview.
that's affected by my own shadow,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And also, it's my fault, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking things personally, that's a worldview too,
Mm-hmm.
right? So be aware of that worldview. If you have the pattern, every time I'm thinking this way, right,
Mhm.
receiving this way,
Mhm.
that's a worldview,
Mhm.
right? It's
Yeah.
subconscious mind.
Yeah,
So,
and that's what we're dealing with in the world here right now, is that we have this kind of whole new worldview separation has been created, right? So there's people who are on board with the
Mhm.
official, institutional, government, media perspective, and those who are not, right? And those people over here, they label these ones as being, uninformed or whatever, right? There's a lot of labels, and maybe these people have some labeling that they're kind of naive and going along with the program. But anyway, there's a worldview stuff that we're running into. That's very hard to cross. It's incredibly difficult to cross a worldview because you're talking about subconscious beliefs, and people are not aware of their subconscious, right? Once it gets into that into your subconscious, it's not easy, right, to work with it. So what are we talking about here? So any attempt at trying to convince somebody, control them, abuse or accuse them, bully or run them down, right? That stuff, that's what we've been dealing, that's what so many people have been affected by lately, right? On the social media side, you see it in the actual media, in the mainstream media, right? In the news. I see news articles all the time that are very accusatory, that are very controlling, they're always trying to convince, they're bullying, and they actually they're insulting or just generally degrading the other side, right? Because the media has definitely taken one side, right? So
I thought those are magazines' job to pick someone and then attack someone.
like a gossip magazine, those tabloids,
yeah.
Well, it's it's kind of
That I thought
gray
that
line
was
has been going all over the place.
Definition for like those magazines,
tabloids,
and then they separate, right? No separation.
No
anymore.
separation. No. Even like the 9 o'clock or the 11 o'clock news or 5 o'clock news, whatever cycle you get on. But this stuff, this attempt to convince or control or accuse and all that kind of stuff, that is aggressive bullying behavior, all of it, right? And that's what we're so badly affected by. So here's what you do with it. This is a really important and beautifully simple habit that people can do in order to deal with this stuff. First, so you just put it on. So you basically, what I'm trying to sum up here is that basically when stuff is coming at you, we have the habit. I did. Anybody who's in my shoes, similar. We have the habit of accepting it. If someone's got a gift for you, you have the habit of accepting it, regardless of what's in there, right? Maybe it's something great, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's something really nasty. And if you're accepting it just automatically, then it goes into you, and then it hurts if it's not a nice gift. If they're accusing, right, and you accept that accusation that, oh my God, I am responsible for this, right? I did something wrong. Oh my God, that is so hard, right?
Yeah,
that was brutal for me.
I do this one without realizing. I don't know for how long since I was younger. I put everything from others. I wasn't picturing shelf, but I put them kind of laying them down there, right? And is this true? Is this true? Huh? Is this true?
That's after. So let me get there. You're jumping ahead. I want to make sure we're breaking this down for people so they understand what we're talking about. The very first thing you do is not accept that gift, not accept and believe it. So you're basically shifting the way that interpersonal dynamics work. So in real time, and it's not necessarily something you can just do right away, or maybe it is, right? It all depends on how much of a subconscious program we're talking about, how deep and how hard how heavy that belief is. But if you're saying something to me in real time, when I accept it, that leaves me wide open to taking things personally. That's literally me taking it personally, right? But if I just say it's coming towards me, and I just kind of put this kind of wall up, like you're saying, or like I'm saying, just kind of to redirect it over to the shelf, right? So it's like the stuff's coming towards me. I'm not going to take it directly into me. I'm just going to, you're imagining it in front of you. I imagine it just putting it over to the side on the shelf, right?
I think it's more like when it's happening, it comes drawn, right? And then I might be carrying them, but I put them.
Oh, that's how you do it?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
I get upset if somebody said something. So then I am receiving some, right? The anger, right? So if I don't do it, I wouldn't be upset, right? So I'm getting upset means I'm receiving some stuff, but when I don't know when it's done or something, or when I have chance, I put them down on the ground, lay them down one by one.
So that's what I mean, and so to help you with that process, one way to achieve it is, because it's kind of complicated. What we're talking about here is like you're trying to sort between things. Is that a bad present, a good present? And it's coming at you. And what am I doing with this one? Am I going to accept it or not? It's coming from my child, or it's coming from my husband, or it's coming from my friend, or it's coming from the news, or it's coming from whatever, right? Trying to figure out what that is inside that present at the same time it's coming at you is a lot. So I understand that. So the best way to work with it then, if you're new to this, is to take everything and not believe any of it. So simply make a decision that you're not going to believe anything that anybody says to you. That's a key turning point, is to not believe. I don't think I have that.
You have it.
Do I have it?
No, I don't know. Maybe
is this it? Yeah, don't believe any of it. Here it is. So yeah, first of all, right here, don't automatically accept it. Don't believe it. So nothing that's coming towards you, not even from your child, not from your husband, from the news, from your friend, anything, nothing. Do not believe a single word. And then put it all on the shelf. Just develop that habit of directing everything to the shelf, no matter where it's coming from. Because it doesn't you're not dismissing it. You're not throwing it away. You're just putting it over here.
to
and then
examine
and then
later.
when you have a chance, and you can work with the situation, you can deal with it, right? You just don't believe what they're saying, and then later when you have a moment, you just, oh, let's see what's in this present, right? This is what my son said to me. Oh, this was great. This was wonderful. That was beautiful, and you can believe it, right? At that point, if it's something that's worth believing, you pick another one off there. Since from the news, it's like, you know what? This doesn't have a really good feeling for anything, so I'm just gonna toss that to the side, right? So, yeah.
So this is examine. This is true.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
That's exactly what you were saying earlier.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like I can see if I can come up with an example. Let's say I'm gonna pick on Paul and make him a bad husband, and he just all of a sudden he's angry, and then I just came home from hanging out with my friend, let's say that, right? And then, hey, you are so late, and there's no food made. I'm so hungry. I'm so frustrated. I have to work so many hours, and then there's no food on the table, and then you're just having fun with friends, and then you don't care about others, and you're just having fun, and then you came home so late, and kids have nothing to eat, and I have nothing to eat, right? Blah 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 blah. Just okay, right? And so if I could get upset and say something, but that's when I'm receiving some stuff, right? But after that, I'll put those words he said into the kind of, that's my visualization print, laying down
in front of you.
On the floor, right? And then I go one by one. He said, I'm late. Yeah, I was late, but I didn't say I come home early. I said I come home around 6 o'clock. I came home at 7. Maybe I could have sent him text. I didn't, so maybe next time I would text him and let him know, kind of thing. So being told that I was late, I picked one thing that out of it that I can do. But being late, okay, that was I can take that. That was kind of I can improve something, right? So okay, and then there's no food on the table. That I would say. There's so many people in the house. They can cook. They know how to cook. Why I have to cook, right? So it's not my problem. It's their problem, and they can just be hungry and be angry and hungry. But it's not my job, right? When I feel like making food, I go. When I'm having fun with friends, you have hands and all the tools and all the food in the house, and you can do it. So I'm not going to take that, right? And then him being angry, that's his choice, right? It's not my choice. So it's like that. I go literally I go one by one. And then it's not like I blindly push them away. No, that's not my responsibility. That's not my responsibility. I don't do that. I go through those things and examine, and if there's some good messages in there, something that it benefits me, and even if it was like a frustrating and anger and then so unhappy feeling in the conversation, but there might be something in me, and then if there are something, I want to take it, right? There's a little gold diamond in that conversation, and I don't want to throw them away. I want to take it. It's for me, right? So that's what I do.
And that's the perfect example, right? That's exactly process that we're talking about here.
But he doesn't get upset when I'm coming home. Just he sometimes
Ooh, I got my name cleared there.
Sometimes he makes food. Lots of times people go, oh, it's already this time and it's 9 o'clock and nobody's there.
I lose track while I'm working.
You guys are home. You could have made something. Because I'm hungry.
Yeah, and they're too nice to say something. Yeah. So yeah.
So yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Question items on.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, it's important to understand that we are not what people say we are, no matter what they're saying, right? Good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, we are what we are, and what the way I look at it, we're actually a real mystery, what we really are, right? But us being bad people, that's right out. That doesn't apply, right? That is non-applicable right from the start when somebody's labeling someone as a bad person for something, right?
And then I want to add one thing, if I'm jumping ahead, just so you can stop me, but that you are not what people say you are, and if you are thinking like, but that's true, then you are already you're programming yourself that.
So can you explain what you mean a little bit there? So give me an example or something.
So let's say
I can take that more than one way.
Let's say you are you're useless. Let's say that, and because you are slow at this and not productive, those kind of things, so you're useless, right? And people say that, and then we are saying you are not what people say you are. You're not useless. But if you are feeling, but I am, that they are, it's true. What they say is true. I'm always slow, and then that's a subconscious programming. It's happening in you.
In other words, you're taking it personally.
Yeah.
You're accepting what people are saying. I mean, everybody's got their development areas, right? So everybody's got something that they could improve on. If someone decides to be frustrated because this is a development area for you, that's not your problem, right? And that's not something that it's unusual for something to be unfixable, right? It's much more common for it to be just a label that people are putting out in a lazy way, in an accusatory way, out of frustration or anger, whatever the case may be. And yeah, no, we're that if you're ever feeling like I did feel that way. I felt useless. I felt worthless. I felt like I was always wrong. I felt like I was not worthy of anything at one point, right? It was pretty low.
So that's a sign that you are taking things.
I took things personally, and it accumulated and became very, very low self-worth, right? And low self-esteem, all those things, right? And yeah, that's a perfect sign of that being a subconscious program, and that can be addressed one way or another. We can help with those, or hopefully we'll get another show on that kind of stuff, on dealing with that, creating new habits for that as well. What people, even if it's good stuff, right? Yeah. Oh, he's so amazing, right? Elvis Presley or something on stage, right? He's everything. He's so dreamy, but that's not true either. He's a person, right? He's him. He was. I mean, there's this confusion between what people say and what's actually us, and that getting those two things mixed up creates nothing but pain. It's just not applicable. And here's another big one. You're not crazy. I hear that so much these days, people accusing the other person of being crazy, because a lot of times that's connected to worldview stuff. So if you're in a different worldview, you are seeing things according to a different logic, right? There's a different set of beliefs that have come into play for whatever reason, right or wrong.
The earth is round.
No, it's flat.
Oh, crazy!
Exactly, right?
You're crazy.
You bought into the lie. So, yeah, I mean, this happens throughout history, right? This worldview thing doing this, and it's automatic right away. There's this finger pointing. You're crazy. No, you're crazy, right? Or that kind of thing, or at least going one way. So, but you're not. It's simply that you have a different way of looking at things. And it doesn't make your way of looking at things invalid if somebody else has takes some kind of issue with it. That's their thing, not yours, right? Them claiming that you're crazy, that's simply, again, just go to the three fingers pointing back, right? Don't buy it. Don't believe what people are saying, please.
But it doesn't mean that you don't have to do anything, right? And then, so that's the starting point. Don't believe what other
that goes back to what we were saying earlier.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you can, so you are not adding more stuff to work on.
Okay, yeah. Right? No, it's back to the same thing.
Right? And then you go, don't believe anything, and then don't accept everything, and just
that's a good
examine, right?
Yeah, because that comes up so often that you're crazy, right? That's such a lazy dismissal of someone else, and it really doesn't
like
speak well to that person who said it.
It's just
doesn't speak well.
You just shutting the door, right? Ending the conversation. Like we cannot go any farther. You're crazy. I cannot talk to you, kind of thing. And then there's no communication, no understanding, no coming together, no filling gaps, whatever you want to say, right? It's not happening.
Yeah.
Right. So
every counselor hears this. When people are like this and they go see a counselor, they're hearing one person saying the other person's crazy. Are they all crazy? Is it every single person who goes to counseling crazy? Because that's what it would be if it was true, right? So anyway, it's just unfortunate things that people say. It's
a fear.
Yeah.
Words.
So being misunderstanding and being afraid of somebody else's worldview. That's what's really they're speaking of right there. And then there's this, right? Committing to respecting and loving yourself. If you do that, then it helps to make those habits, right? Of not believing anything, of not taking ownership of it, right, in any way, because you're doing it because you want to be whole and healthy, and make that your commitment rather than your commitment to pleasing the other person or getting along with the crowd, right? Or anything like that. If you're dedicated to committing to respecting and loving yourself, making that your priority, then all of this other stuff comes out of that, right? So that at one point was what I had to do because my self-worth was so low that I tried so many other things. I realized, oh, wait a minute, I can love myself. Let me try that one. Let me try respecting myself. Oh my God. Then I started learning about the not taking it personally and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So, did you want to add anything more to this? Or?
I'm just committing to respecting and loving yourself. I was thinking, is that what I did? Right? To learn how to not take things personally and like loving myself. I don't know, respecting myself, I'm not sure. So I cannot really answer. I was just asking myself, but like, it's not clear. It's more like I feel like it's more like a protecting so I don't get hurt anymore. So maybe that's a reason. I think that's the reason I learned this, and maybe that could be a reason then it comes, yeah, it's in a way respecting, because this is me, and then don't need more pain, right? And then I need more love than pain. So if I'm trying to make connection, maybe that's that, but it's more like I was, it was too painful not to, how does it go? Not too painful to take things personally.
Yeah.
For me, it was, and so I to develop the habit, right? So yeah, I was just thinking.
Yeah.
But
so you would agree with
I think
in
so.
an indirect way that's
It
for
was
your
more
situation.
indirect. It was more like a protection for me, but
which it also can be, right? You could also say just that by committing to,
because you're hurting yourself. Right?
Committing to ending the pain, right?
Yeah,
is another way to do the same thing. I can put that up here on the screen as well. So
committing to ending the pain.
Yeah,
I think that's more like what I did, and
by doing that, you achieve the same results.
Yeah, and then that's indirectly you respecting your own space, your own body, your own emotion, and by doing that, you are sending love to yourself, right? So,
just whichever way you want to tackle it. Yeah. So, as always, if you do, I mean, these habit shifts can work, right? They can work, and they can be all that's needed in order to change the whole dynamic. And we work with people all the time on habit changes, right?
Yeah.
And it's a way of achieving subconscious shifts, right? But it takes time. It can take a lot of work. It depends on the situation. There can be very negative things that are reinforcing it to kind of stay in place.
The tricky part is you're not aware of what you're doing, because it's subconscious, right? And what habit change? I don't have any habit.
Well, and like in my case, I did it by habit change, right? With my family, I was like, okay, I'm going to start respecting and loving myself. I'm going to not take things personally, right? So I learned to not take things personally to a pretty good degree within that crowd. Then, at some certain point we connected, and I was still taking things personally with you. So the context changed, and I wasn't able to cross over just like that, right? So there was sometimes it can be context specific, so you can learn it for this relationship and not necessarily that one. All those things
in boxes.
Because I'm a guy, right? Yeah, everything in my brain is all these separate boxes that can't touch each other. It's very important, and it's true. It's funny how that works. But women, I know if you learn it one place, you can easily learn it more in other places. So and more so than men. But anyway. So but if you do still have trouble with it, if it's still not something you're able to get on top of, you can visit our website, schedule a free breakthrough session, and we can help you work through the subconscious stuff that's underneath it, right? And you can also check out our shop, because we have a muscle testing course there, two of them actually, and you can check those out, and you can test for yourself for your own subconscious blocks, which is always helpful, right? And besides that, we will see you next week at Sunday, on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and take care. We love you so much. Come on back, subscribe, share, like, all that stuff. Okay, bye-bye.